The broadcast started like any other heated political debate. Two anchors sitting across from Pam Bondi, the former Florida Attorney General and one of Donald Trump's most loyal defenders. The studio lights glared, cameras rolled, and the atmosphere buzzed with tension. Pam sat upright in a sharp navy blue blazer, her hair perfectly styled, her tone confident, almost rehearsed. The topic was familiar: Trump's ongoing legal controversies and the growing pressure around his latest business investigation. Bondi had been on television countless times defending him, often using sharp, confident rhetoric to turn any attack into an opportunity, but today felt different. Her voice carried a nervous edge, the kind of unease that even trained politicians can't fully hide. As the host pressed her with tough questions, Bondi leaned forward, trying to regain control of the narrative. "Look," she began firmly, "President Trump has always been transparent about his dealings. There's nothing hidden here. Everything was already handled privately between him and—" She froze. A brief, heavy silence filled the room. Her eyes darted slightly, realizing the phrase she just said, "handled privately," wasn't part of the official story. The hosts exchanged quick glances. One of them raised an eyebrow, smirking ever so slightly. The other leaned closer to the mic, trying not to react too fast. Pam attempted to keep talking, fumbling over her next few words, but it was too late. The clip was already being clipped, replayed, and analyzed online. The live chat on the network's YouTube stream exploded with comments. Viewers noticed what she said immediately. She just admitted something. One comment read, "Did she say handled privately? What is she covering up?" Another viewer typed. Within minutes, social media began dissecting every second of the interview. Screenshots, memes, and slowed-down clips spread across X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. For a woman known for her polished composure, this was a rare and explosive mistake. As the viral clip continued to spread across every platform, millions of viewers began asking the same question. What was Pam Bondi actually trying to defend when she made that slip? To understand the moment, we need to rewind just a few hours before that live interview. That morning, multiple news outlets had published reports suggesting a new wave of legal scrutiny around one of Trump's post-presidency business deals, allegedly involving confidential financial transfers and private negotiations. Trump's team had strongly denied all allegations, calling them media lies. Pam Bondi, one of Trump's most loyal public defenders since his impeachment trials, was invited on air to clarify the situation. She was supposed to sound confident, composed, and firm, but behind the scenes, insiders later revealed that even Bondi was frustrated. She reportedly told producers before going live, "I'm not sure what I can say about this. There are still things being worked out." That uncertainty, small as it was, would soon lead to one of the most talked-about media moments of the year. When she sat down in that studio, crisp blue blazer, pearl earrings, calm smile, she looked ready to defend Trump like she always did. She started strong, pointing fingers at political opponents, accusing journalists of bias, and insisting Trump had nothing to hide. But as the questioning grew sharper, she lost rhythm. The host asked, "Ms. Bondi, are you saying every one of these payments was fully disclosed to investigators?" Pam hesitated. You could see it in her eyes, a brief flicker of panic. Then she tried to deflect. "What I'm saying," she began, "is that the situation was already resolved privately, between President Trump and the involved parties." That's when it happened, the phrase that made the nation stop. Within minutes, that 5-second line was everywhere. The words "resolved privately" seemed to suggest something undisclosed, maybe a settlement, a quiet arrangement, or a hidden admission. The very thing Bondi was trying to deny suddenly sounded like something she confirmed. Even veteran anchors on other networks couldn't believe it. One reporter said on air, "If she's right, then Trump's team may have been negotiating behind the scenes while publicly claiming innocence." The contradiction was glaring. Online, the reactions exploded. People began uploading side-by-side comparisons, Bondi's past interviews versus this one. In one clip from months earlier, she'd confidently said, "There are no secret deals. Everything is fully public and transparent." Now, she was saying the opposite. TikTok creators dissected every frame, reading her body language, analyzing the moment her eyes widened. X, formerly Twitter users, launched threads titled, Pam Bondi just exposed Trump accidentally. Within hours, hashtags like Bondi slip, Trump scandal, and handled privately started trending. It was no longer just a political discussion, it was a cultural moment, but what made it even more interesting was Pam Bondi's reputation. She wasn't just a Trump ally. She was once considered one of his most disciplined communicators. Every word she used was normally chosen carefully, so this kind of slip was not only unexpected, it was unbelievable. A few hours after the clip went viral, a spokesperson for Bondi released a short statement. Pam Bondi was referring to routine legal matters that were long ago settled publicly. Any claim that she revealed new information is false. But the problem was, no one bought it. If it were truly routine, why did she hesitate? Why did her tone change mid-sentence? Why did her eyes shift as soon as she said it? The internet had already made up its mind. Let me ask you this. Do you think Pam Bondi was protecting Trump? Or was she protecting herself? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading them all. And tell me, what country or city are you watching from right now? I love seeing how far this story is reaching. Back in the studio, the anchors had wrapped up the interview as if nothing had happened, but moments after the cameras stopped rolling, producers say Bondi looked visibly tense. She asked if the clip could be edited out for the replay version. Of course, by then, it was far too late. The network's live feed had already been downloaded, shared, and archived across dozens of channels. One political analyst later said, "This wasn't a gaffe, it was a glimpse. A 5-second moment where her filter disappeared, and the truth slipped out." That glimpse would soon ignite a firestorm in Washington, because what Pam Bondi said, and the way she said it, hinted at something much deeper than anyone realized. It wasn't just about one deal. It suggested coordination, secrecy, and damage control happening behind the scenes, all while the public was told everything is fine. And as reporters began connecting her words to recent sealed court filings, the story took a sharp new turn. By the next morning, the moment had already become impossible to contain. What started as a minor slip during a late-night interview was now the #1 trending story in America. Clips of Pam Bondi's words, resolved privately between Trump and the involved parties, were being replayed, dissected, and analyzed by every major outlet. Some called it a mistake. Others called it a confession. And social media? It was on fire. On X, users were tagging journalists demanding investigations. On TikTok, creators slowed the video down frame by frame, analyzing her tone and expression. Even her micro-hesitation, that one breath before she said privately, was being treated like a clue. Within 12 hours, hashtags like Bondi leaked it, Trump cover-up, and Pam slip had crossed 20 million views. At first, Pam Bondi tried to ignore the chaos. She thought it would blow over. She even appeared briefly on a local network, insisting she had been taken out of context. But the problem was, people weren't just replaying her words. They were connecting them to something real. Only a week earlier, reports had surfaced that Trump's legal team had quietly filed motions to seal financial records connected to one of his post-presidency ventures. The same case Pam Bondi had just referenced as being resolved privately. That's when journalists started to dig. One reporter from the Washington Ledger wrote, "Pam Bondi's phrasing implies there were undisclosed settlements or discussions not reflected in court filings. If true, this raises serious ethical and legal concerns." By mid-afternoon, major newsrooms had assigned teams to verify her claim. What had once been a simple media appearance was now being treated like an accidental leak from inside Trump's circle. Meanwhile, on YouTube and TikTok, creators and commentators were milking every second of the chaos. Some political vloggers replayed the clip in slow motion. Others reacted live, saying things like, "You can literally see the second she realizes she said too much." One even joked, "Pam Bondi might have done more damage in 10 seconds than Trump's opponents did in 10 years. But beyond the jokes, there was real concern, even among Trump supporters. Pam had always been one of the most loyal, polished defenders in his camp. She wasn't a rookie. She wasn't someone who slipped easily. If she accidentally confirmed something, maybe it wasn't an accident at all. Inside Trump's circle, things got tense. A source close to the team reportedly said that Pam's phone blew up that morning. Multiple campaign aides and attorneys reached out immediately, asking her to clarify. Some politely, others angrily. One insider told a reporter, "It wasn't just what she said. It was that she said it on live TV. No room to spin it or walk it back." Behind closed doors, meetings were held to plan damage control. Statements were drafted. Talking points were prepared, and one clear instruction was sent out to all spokespeople. Do not repeat the words "resolved privately." It was too late. Those words were already burned into the public's memory. What do you think? Was this a simple slip of the tongue? Or did Pam Bondi just reveal what Trump's team has been hiding all along? And tell me in the comments, and if you were in her place, would you come clean or double down? Political panels were split. Some claimed the reaction was overblown, that Pam Bondi was only referring to routine discussions, but others insisted the phrase carried legal weight. A former prosecutor said, "Words like resolved privately don't just slip out. They imply settlement, confidentiality, or backroom negotiation. That's not something you say by mistake." Even late-night comedians jumped in. One quipped, "Pam Bondi went on TV to defend Trump and accidentally turned into the prosecution." The laughter didn't help. The clip was now everywhere, from memes to news headlines to political debates in Congress. By day's end, Bondi's team released another statement, this time much longer. It insisted she was referencing long-standing, fully disclosed legal matters, but viewers weren't convinced. Comments flooded her social media pages. If it was public, why say private? You just confirmed everything we suspected. Pam, blink twice if you're tired of cleaning up Trump's mess. The tone was brutal, and it wasn't coming just from opponents. Even conservative pages began quietly distancing themselves from her. Then, something even more interesting happened. A small independent journalist noticed that one of the sealed filings from Trump's legal team, the same one believed to be connected to these private settlements, had just been updated. The timing matched perfectly with Pam's interview. He tweeted, "Coincidence? Or did Bondi just trigger a response from Trump's lawyers trying to cover their tracks?" That post went viral. Within hours, it had hundreds of thousands of views. Suddenly, everyone was connecting dots that hadn't even been proven yet. Pam Bondi's accidental phrase had evolved into a full-blown theory, and that theory had people questioning just how much she and the entire Trump legal team might be hiding. By the end of the day, political strategists were already calling it the Bondi effect. A single line, a few seconds of hesitation, and a storm that not even the best PR team in America could stop. And as the headlines piled up, something far more dangerous was brewing behind the scenes. A quiet but powerful move by investigators who'd just been given the perfect reason to reopen their files. The morning after Pam Bondi's now infamous interview, Washington woke up buzzing. It wasn't just trending online anymore. It had become the story of the week. Every major talk show opened with the same headline. Pam Bondi accidentally reveals private Trump dealings. Clips of her face, mid-sentence, were plastered across news feeds. But while the internet was laughing, something far more serious was happening behind closed doors. Because in Washington, words have consequences, especially when they come from someone like Pam Bondi. At 9 a.m., the first official request for clarification was quietly sent to Trump's legal team by an oversight committee. It was short, just one page long, but its tone was sharp. In light of public statements suggesting private resolution of pending matters, please confirm whether any undisclosed agreements exist. That letter would change everything. By noon, phone calls began flying between Trump's attorneys, PR advisors, and political allies. And for the first time in years, Pam Bondi wasn't being celebrated as the loyal defender. She was being treated as a liability. Inside Mar-a-Lago, sources say Trump was furious. One insider told the Daily Ledger he couldn't believe Pam said that on live TV. He kept asking, why did she say private? Who told her to say that? The tension was so bad that one staffer reportedly described the atmosphere as controlled panic. Bondi, meanwhile, was trying to do damage control. She made a few calls to her old contacts, asking for advice, but the responses were lukewarm. A few allies texted her things like, "Hang in there or it'll blow over," but the silence from Trump's team was deafening. For the first time, Pam realized she might be on her own. Later that day, a press conference was scheduled at Trump's Florida property. It wasn't about Bondi, officially, but the reporters in attendance all knew what they were going to ask. When the spokesperson took the podium, the first question came instantly. "Can you clarify Pam Bondi's statement about private resolutions involving the former president?" The spokesperson smiled tightly and replied, "Ms. Bondi was speaking in general terms and not referencing any specific case. The president is unaware of any private resolutions," but it was too late. The denial sounded rehearsed, almost panicked. Reporters weren't buying it, and neither was the public. By that evening, new reports emerged that a federal review committee had begun looking into sealed financial documents connected to Trump's legal dealings. The reason cited in the paperwork? Recent public statements suggesting undisclosed agreements. Those statements were Pam Bondi's words. Question for you. If you were in Pam Bondi's place, would you come forward with the truth or stay silent to protect your allies? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to see how many of you would take the honest route versus the loyal one. Back at her home in Florida, Pam Bondi sat in front of her TV as one network replayed her clip again and again. Her phone buzzed nonstop, journalists asking for a follow-up interview, YouTubers wanting her side, and former political colleagues sending cautious messages. But there was one call she didn't expect. According to a close associate, a senior Trump campaign official reached out, not to help, but to warn her. He reportedly said, "Pam, you need to stay quiet. Don't say another word about this on television. We're handling it internally." To most people, that might sound like support, but Bondi knew the meaning behind those words. They weren't protecting her, they were isolating her. Within days, her name began disappearing from scheduled TV appearances. Producers, who had once begged her to appear on air, were suddenly restructuring segments. Her political consulting clients, silent her speaking, engagements, and postponed. And through it all, the internet kept digging deeper. Commentators began noticing odd financial patterns matching the timeline of Trump's controversial ventures. One YouTube investigator claimed to have found a link between a resolved settlement and one of Trump's shell companies. Was it coincidence? Maybe, but the timing matched Bondi's words perfectly. Meanwhile, the pressure from within Trump's circle grew harsher. One aide leaked to the media that Pam Bondi wasn't fully briefed, and Bondi's a not-so-subtle attempt to discredit her. Another insider suggested she misunderstood the question. To the public, it looked like a coordinated effort to distance the team from her, and that's when people began asking, why is everyone suddenly throwing Pam Bondi under the bus? If she really didn't say anything wrong? That question started to change the tone of the entire story. By day 3, a rumor began spreading online that an internal memo had circulated among Trump's legal advisors, warning staff not to engage with Pam Bondi's comments or add context. If true, it meant they weren't just ignoring her, they were covering up. Political analysts on cable news called it classic damage control. One said, "The moment you see allies go silent, that's when you know someone spoke too much truth." Pam Bondi's accidental slip was no longer a mistake. It was being treated like a confession. That night, as the chaos swirled, Bondi finally broke her silence. She released a short video statement from her home, calm but visibly exhausted. "I stand by what I said," she told viewers. There was nothing secretive about the process. "I have nothing to hide," but as soon as she ended the video, people noticed something strange. Her tone, her eyes, the hesitation before she said, "Nothing secretive." And just like that, the video backfired. Comment sections exploded again. "She looks nervous. She's definitely hiding something. That's not the face of someone who's telling the full truth." The following morning, the situation took an even darker turn, because the very agencies she had accidentally alluded to are the ones tied to Trump's private resolutions and had just received new subpoenas. And for the first time since that live interview, Pam Bondi realized this wasn't just about bad press, it was about survival. The day after Pam Bondi released her emotional video statement, it looked, at least for a few hours, like the storm might finally calm down. Her supporters rallied online, posting hashtags like Stand With Pam and Media Twist, insisting she'd been misinterpreted. But deep down, Bondi knew the damage was already done. She had defended Trump for years, through every controversy, every accusation, and now, for the first time, she felt that same loyalty being weaponized against her. What she didn't know was that her biggest challenge wasn't coming from the media. It was coming from inside Trump's own circle. At around 6 a.m. that morning, a new document surfaced online, an internal memo reportedly written by a senior Trump legal aide. It was brief, but explosive. The memo confirmed that private discussions had taken place regarding financial settlements connected to one of Trump's business ventures. And the kicker? The memo was dated 2 days before Bondi's interview. That meant she hadn't misspoken. She had known. Within minutes, screenshots of the memo went viral. The title read, "Summary of Private Resolutions, Internal Use Only." Those 5 words shattered any remaining doubt. Reporters swarmed the story like wildfire. On CNN, one analyst said, "If this memo is real, it proves Pam Bondi's statement wasn't an accident. It was a leak. Maybe unintentional, but still a revelation of classified discussions." Fox News hosts demanded verification, while independent journalists scrambled to confirm its origin. By noon, multiple insiders claimed the memo was authentic, and it came from within Trump's legal team itself. Someone had leaked it. But the question was, who? Pam Bondi's phone buzzed nonstop, calls from reporters, messages from old allies, and then one from a number she recognized instantly. It was a senior advisor from Trump's inner circle, someone she had known for years. The message was short, almost cold. "You need to stop talking. They know where it came from." Her heart dropped. She hadn't leaked anything, at least not intentionally, but now, the implication was clear. Someone was trying to pin the leak on her. By midday, political Twitter was ablaze with theories. Some said Pam Bondi had turned on Trump. Others believed she was being framed by insiders desperate to deflect blame. A trending post read, "Trump's team sacrifices Pam Bondi to save themselves." Classic. Another, "She defended him for years. The moment she slips, they destroy her." The narrative had shifted completely. Pam wasn't just the woman who said too much. She was now the scapegoat. Let me ask you this. Do you think Pam Bondi actually leaked the memo, or was she set up by Trump's inner circle to take the fall? Comment your theory below, because the truth gets darker from here. That evening, Bondi called a few close friends, former prosecutors, TV commentators, trying to get ahead of the next wave. Most didn't answer. The few who did were cautious. One reportedly warned her, "Pam, don't fight this head on. The more you talk, the more they'll bury you." She was silent for a moment before replying, "But if I don't, I'm done anyway." As the night went on, new evidence began surfacing. Screenshots of private text messages between Trump aides appeared online, apparently showing discussions about how to handle Pam's mistake. One message read, "We can use this. Say she misinterpreted internal notes." Another said, "If this gets worse, distance the team. Make it sound like Pam acted independently." The leak wasn't just about Trump's scandal anymore. It was now about the betrayal inside the team itself. By the next morning, multiple sources confirmed what Pam feared. Someone in Trump's camp had leaked the memo intentionally, but made it look like she was the source. A political strategist explained on air, "It's a classic deflection move. They leak the truth, blame the loyalist, and save the boss." Pam Bondi just became collateral damage. Pam sat alone in her living room watching the segment. Her face, once calm, polished, unshakable, now showed something new. Exhaustion. For the first time, she realized the truth she had avoided for years. Loyalty in Trump's circle wasn't rewarded. It was used. Within 24 hours, her name was added to several official filings as a potential witness in the reopened review. The same investigation she accidentally triggered was now turning its focus toward her. Papers described her as a possible conduit of sensitive information. She hadn't broken the law. Yet, but she was dangerously close to becoming the centerpiece of a federal inquiry. They better very people she had defended on live television were now quietly building a case that she had acted off script. It was the ultimate betrayal, and still, the public wasn't sure what to believe. Half of America saw her as a truth-teller who finally slipped and exposed Trump's secrets. The other half saw her as a traitor, someone who had betrayed the man she once vowed to protect. Pam Bondi was trapped between two fires, and neither side was willing to save her. That night, a single headline captured it all. Pam Bondi, from Trump's defender to his biggest problem. Her image, once a symbol of loyalty and control, had become the face of chaos. And yet, despite everything, she didn't back down. According to one close friend, Pam was already preparing for something big, a televised interview where she planned to set the record straight. But what she didn't know was that the same insider who leaked the memo was about to release something far more damaging, a piece of audio that would change everything. 3 days after Pam Bondi's accidental revelation, just as the scandal seemed to be reaching its peak, something new emerged, and something that would take the chaos to a level no one saw coming. It wasn't another memo. It wasn't another news report. It was a recording. At first, it was just a rumor, whispers spreading across political Twitter that a major leak was about to drop. But within an hour, an anonymous account uploaded a 2-minute audio clip titled, "Trump Legal Call, The Private Deal." The voice quality was muffled, like it was recorded secretly during a conference call. But one voice was unmistakable, Pam Bondi's, and another voice, deep, calm, assertive, sounded very familiar. Many claimed it was a senior Trump lawyer. In the clip, Bondi could be heard saying, "We should keep the private settlements quiet. If the media gets even a hint, it'll undo everything we've worked on." Then the other voice replied, "Don't worry. The boss is aware. It'll be handled privately just like before." Those words, "the boss is aware," set the internet ablaze. Within minutes, the clip had millions of plays. Newsrooms were scrambling to verify it. Twitter threads broke down the audio, analyzing timestamps, accents, even background noises. By noon, several sound experts confirmed that the voice likely did belong to Pam Bondi. And just like that, the story transformed again. Pam Bondi wasn't just the woman who slipped on live TV. Now she was part of a recorded conversation confirming everything she'd accidentally said. Inside Washington, panic spread faster than wildfire. Lawyers started calling one another. Political advisors went silent on group chats. And for the first time, people began whispering something dangerous. If that audio is real, this could turn into obstruction of justice. Even Bondi's closest allies began quietly distancing themselves. TV anchors, who once praised her, now questioned her credibility. On one channel, a former DOJ official said, "That audio is damning. It suggests direct coordination to conceal financial matters, and if that's true, the fallout could be catastrophic." For Pam, the nightmare had just begun. She denied being part of any such call. Her spokesperson released a firm statement. "The recording is fabricated. Pam Bondi has never participated in any private discussions of that nature." But the public wasn't convinced. The clip sounded too real, and the timing, coming right after her live slip in the leaked memo, made it impossible to dismiss as coincidence. "Honest, do you think this audio is real? Or is Pam Bondi being framed again by Trump's insiders? Tell me what you think in the comments, because after this, things take a shocking turn late that night. As she sat in her home surrounded by legal papers, Pam Bondi finally received a call. Not from Trump, not from his lawyers, but from an investigative journalist who claimed to have sources inside the leak. The journalist's first words froze her. "Pam, the leak didn't come from outside. It came from someone you know." Bondi's hand trembled. "Who?" The journalist hesitated, then said quietly, "Someone very close to the former president." The call ended abruptly. In that moment, Pam realized the unthinkable. She had become a target, not of the media, but of the very machine she'd helped protect. The next morning, a new headline appeared everywhere. Bondi recording suggests Trump team knew of private deals. In response, Trump's spokesperson gave a brief comment to reporters. The president has no knowledge of any such conversation. If Ms. Bondi participated in something inappropriate, she acted on her own. That single sentence destroyed whatever loyalty she had left in Trump's circle. They had officially thrown her under the bus. By noon, cameras were camped outside Bondi's home. Reporters shouted questions. Did you confirm the settlements, Pam? Are you cooperating with investigators? Did Trump approve those private deals? She didn't answer. She just walked past them. Eyes forward, face pale but determined. Because behind the scenes, Pam Bondi was already doing something no one expected. She had quietly reached out to federal investigators. Sources later confirmed she had scheduled a confidential meeting with the Oversight Committee to provide clarification. To the public, it sounded innocent, but insiders knew what that really meant. Pam Bondi was preparing to cooperate. That evening, the same journalist who spoke with her earlier released another bombshell report. He claimed that the leaked audio was part of a larger archive of recordings all tied to private calls between Trump's legal advisors. And that wasn't even the worst part, according to him. Pam's voice only appeared in one of the clips, but Trump's top aides could be heard in several others, discussing how to handle financial settlements and keep donors quiet. If the recordings were real, it meant this wasn't just a slip, it was a systemic cover-up. As news spread, Bondi's phone buzzed again, an unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A familiar male voice said just one sentence before hanging up. If you talk, we all go down. Pam froze. Her heart pounded. For the first time, she wasn't scared of reporters. She was scared of what might happen if she told the truth. That night, she sat alone at her kitchen table, staring at her reflection in the darkened window. She thought about everything she had sacrificed, her reputation, her friendships, her peace, to protect a man who had just abandoned her. Was this what loyalty had earned her? Slowly, she picked up her phone, opened her notes app, and began typing something. It wasn't a statement, it wasn't a defense, it was a list. Names, dates, meetings, and transactions. Pam Bondi wasn't going to be the scapegoat anymore. If they wanted to blame her, she would give them the full truth, every piece of it. It had been 4 sleepless nights since the audio leak. Pam Bondi's world had collapsed around her. Former allies had ghosted her. Reporters stalked her every move, and online trolls flooded her accounts with abuse and threats. But through all that chaos, one thought kept echoing in her mind. They want me to take the fall, but I won't. Pam had spent her career defending powerful people, yet now, those same people had turned her into a disposable pawn. That morning, she sat inside a small Washington cafe, wearing dark glasses, her phone face down on the table. Across from her sat a quiet man in a gray suit, a federal investigator from the Oversight Committee. He leaned forward and said softly, Ms. Bondi, if what you're saying is true, you're holding information that could change the direction of this entire case. Pam nodded, her voice steady. I know, and I'm ready to speak and on record. Later that day, her decision made headlines across every major network. Breaking banners flashed across screens. Pam Bondi agrees to cooperate with federal investigators. The public's reaction was explosive. Some called her brave. Others called her a traitor. But for the first time in weeks, Pam felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: control. That evening, she was invited to appear on a primetime interview, live, uncensored and unscripted. As the broadcast began, the studio lights hit her face. Her expression was calm, her tone measured. She wasn't there to defend herself. She was there to set the record straight. The host leaned in, his voice sharp. Pam, the nation has been waiting for answers. Did you knowingly confirm private settlements connected to Trump's legal team? Pam took a slow breath. The studio went silent. I didn't intend to reveal anything that day, she began. But I won't lie. There are conversations that happened, conversations that shouldn't have. And I wasn't the only one in those rooms. A ripple of shock moved through the audience. The host's eyes widened. Are you saying members of Trump's team were aware of these private arrangements? Pam met his gaze. Yes, they were aware, and some of them directed it. The crowd gasped. For a moment, You could hear the silence between each heartbeat. Within minutes, her words were trending worldwide. Hashtags, like Bondi reveals all and Hater Trump leaked truth, exploded across social media. Cable news channels replayed the clip every 10 minutes. Bondi wasn't just trending, she had become the center of a political earthquake. Even Trump's most loyal commentators couldn't defend what she'd just said. Conservative analyst admitted live on air, if Bondi's statements hold up under investigation, this is a 5-alarm fire for Trump's camp. Do you think Pam Bondi did the right thing by exposing the truth? Or should she have stayed loyal to Trump's circle? Drop your opinion below. I really want to see how divided people are on this. As the night unfolded, federal investigators confirmed that Pam had turned over a folder of documents and digital files, evidence she'd quietly saved from her time in Trump's legal network. Those files reportedly included internal memos, email chains, and recordings, proof that several senior figures had discussed keeping key settlements and financial matters off public record. The revelation sent Washington into meltdown. Within 48 hours, multiple subpoenas were issued. Legal experts called it the biggest internal breach of Trump's post-presidency network to date. And through it all, Pam stayed silent, and no more interviews, no more statements. She'd said enough. But 1 week later, during a follow-up press conference, she gave one final message to the cameras. For years, I defended people I believed in. But loyalty doesn't mean silence when truth is being buried. I made mistakes, but covering for corruption isn't one of them. The crowd erupted in applause. Even some of her critics admitted it took courage. That clip would go viral again, not for scandal, but for accountability. Pam Bondi had started this story as someone who slipped on live television. She ended it as the woman who accidentally exposed one of the most shocking political scandals of the decade, and then had the courage to finish what she started.